Welcome everyone to the fields at Southern Virginia University. I'm Jim Bresnahan, joined by Mike Harmon, getting ready to bring you the final men's home soccer game of this 2015 season as Southern Virginia wraps up the home part of their 2015 men's soccer schedule, taking on Salisbury today. Mike, in a makeup game that was originally scheduled for October the 3rd, rained out, and now being played here on this Monday afternoon.
Yeah, it was a little bit more than just rain. It was torrential downpours and a lot of wind that was going to be happening. The Knights get to make that game up today. Short turnaround, no practice yesterday. The 1 day in 7 that they have to take off, and played on Saturday. So a quick turnaround for them. Is going to be a monumental effort that they're going to have to put forth to beat Salisbury.
Monumental challenge, twofold, Mike, coming off their worst loss of the year, the Knights are. 9-0 at York on Saturday, and facing one of the better teams in the Capital Conference today in Salisbury, a team that has yet to lose in the conference. They've got 3 ties.
3 ties, and they're solidly in 3rd place right now. Another win today would keep them there. Can't catch up to York or Wesley right now, both of those with 6 wins. But again, like you said, monumental effort's going to be needed by the Knights to take it to the Seagulls. And if the Seagulls on the men's team play anything like the women's team did, the first 10 minutes is going to be a lot of action.
And how about the starting lineup today for the Knights?
Well, for the Knights, starting in goal will be number 32, Keenan Carroll. Then we have number 4, Sam Horman. Number 5, Colin Flynn. Number 6, Gabriel Ramirez. Number 8, Kenneth Fouchinet. Number 11, Greg Allen. Number 18, Joseph Patino. Number 19, Morgan Palmer. Number 22, Sam Kelly. Number 23, Cade Lowe, and number 26, Christian Rice.
And now, really quick, we'll run these bad numbers over for the Knights just as far as men's soccer is concerned. They're 1-15, Mike, on the season. They have just the 1 win at Ferrum College, September the 15th, a 1-0 ball game. Since then, they've lost 10 in a row. They've been shut out 10 times this season. And again, they're coming off their worst loss of the season. They've really only been blown out in 2 games this year. September the 26th at St. Mary's, 7-0. And again, this past Saturday at York, losing that game 9-0. It was only 3-0 at halftime, but they gave up 6 goals in the second half. So as we've talked about all season long, Knights have never won here at home this season. They have never scored more than 1 goal this season, and they're looking to get the offense going, and it's their last chance here to get a home victory here in 2015.
And the other number that we can't really keep track of is how many injuries have the Knights had this year.
True enough, yep.
We see Alexander Drouet there, not able to play today. It's going to be, and he's another one of the starters that hasn't been down so far this season, down now. We'll be interested to see how many of these young men are able to come out and play today, coming off of injuries or just receiving them in their game against York.
Tristan Lonergan, obviously we saw him in the Washington League game back in the early part of the schedule. I'm not sure he has played since. He's been beset with injuries. Fouchinet the other night took a lot of pounding in their other home game, their next to last home game back on the 21st against Marymount. As you see out there, Carlos Munoz not starting today, and Keenan Carroll really had a tough day. We're not sure how those goals went in for York. Again, he gave up 6 goals, and then Hunter Collins came in as the backup goalkeeper and gave up 3. And obviously, Keenan Carroll, as we've talked about, the Knights have only been blown out in 2 games. At St. Mary's, 7-0. At York, 9-0. Keenan Carroll's really battled all season long as their goalkeeper.
Yeah, and again, with the women, as with the men, a lack of offense has put a lot of pressure and stress on the defense. And usually into that second half, when the defense has had to change and chase and get up and down the pitch so much, their legs start to go down, and that's when we see the majority of the goals being scored.
So some new faces just as far as the starting lineup is concerned, and there's 2 of them right there, Christian Rice, Sam Kelly. I think Christian Rice has started a few games earlier in the season, but today, due to the injuries situation, there's a lot of players. As you mentioned, Mike, the whole team is going to really need a monumental effort to beat Salisbury today, and that's going to be really a heavy load on certain players.
Yeah, it will be, but that's why you play the game. If you look at it on paper, you'd automatically say, well, Salisbury's going to win. Hopefully that the Knights will come out today after being able to rest and relax yesterday, and with Salisbury being able having to travel so far, we might be able to see the Knights with a little bit fresher legs.
Now, what's the approach you think the Knights will have? Will they try to slow it down a little bit, try to shorten the game, really focus on defensively, at least in the opening minutes of the first half, trying to contain Salisbury, make sure they don't really get off to a good start, sort of like Salisbury, sort of like the Salisbury women's team did in their makeup game with the women's soccer team at SVU. They scored 3 times in the first 10 minutes, and obviously the men are hoping that the Salisbury men here tonight don't do the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's the major concern is this first 10 minutes coming in, making sure that the Salisbury Seagulls don't get off to that very quick, fast start. With the lack of offense that the Knights have been able to produce this year, anything over 2 or 3 goals seems to be like climbing Mount Everest. So if they can hold them to 0 or even 1 goal in this first half, their chances of being able to pull off the upset in the second half grow exponentially.
And this is, by the way, the next to last game overall for the Knights. They play at Frostburg on Wednesday. The women will be wrapping up their season tomorrow night at Frostburg. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, Mike. And, of course, the women suffered a very tough loss on Saturday, 2-1 in overtime at York, a game where they lost Tatiana Monson in the second half, and she was not available for overtime. And that certainly had to have an impact. On the one hand, the women's team has really been competitive here in the last 3 to 4 games. Of course, the victory over Marymount on Senior Day and the near victory over Wesley, and a very competitive game on the road at York. But I'm sure they don't want to be just competitive. I'm sure that they're feeling that overtime loss.
Yeah, that's something that was on their mind of trying to put 2 or 3 game winning streak together. You're very precise in what you said with the Knights being able to string a lot of good games together over the last 2 or 3, and that's been because a lot of the young ladies have come off the injured list.
Yep.
And now after this last game, we're seeing some go back on the injured list, and that's just been the MO for all season long. We hope that it stays with this season and doesn't follow into the next season for both teams.
Boy, you wonder if Tatiana hadn't suffered that injury and had been available. First of all, would the game have even gone to overtime, and had it gone to overtime as it did, if Tatiana was out there, would the Knights have been the one to win the game in overtime?
Yeah, it's just whenever a player goes down, it throws a monkey wrench into your whole rotation system that you have, and it forced some other players to play longer minutes than what they normally do and are used to. So I'm sure that has something to do with some legs maybe not being as fresh as possible.
Especially one of your top scorers, and Tatiana in the last 3-4 games, she really has done a lot of scoring for the Knights.
Yeah, she's turned it on. I know that makes her mind a little bit more at ease. She hasn't been able to score as often as she would like, but again, it has to do a lot with the injuries that the team has suffered. Not being able to play in certain positions, not having the same people beside you. And we see that with the men's team too, as Christian Rice, when we first saw him, he was a defender in the back, and now he's up front playing one of the attackers. So it's really, this season has caused the Knights to have to look at themselves and become soccer players all over instead of just specializations.
Centering pass. A Salisbury player tried to kick that ball out of midair and just kind of overran it a little bit. That was Brad Martinelli. Nice block there, but it hit the Knight. I don't know if it hit him in the chest, maybe, Mike? Temporarily down on the ground, but a good defensive play to make sure that ball didn't proceed to the SVU goal.
And it's kind of chilly outside, so that strike that he took will hurt for a long time.
Is it somewhat similar to baseball? You know, the vibrating bat, and that, by the way, was Morgan Palmer who took that.
I think it's a little bit worse.
Probably.
The vibrating bat getting hit to the body. I'm glad that I'm not young enough to get out there and find out.
So Salisbury, kick from the left side. Knocked away cleanly by the Knights. And now Christian Rice, very fast player, moves it up the right side. Christian doing a great job moving it from one end to the other.
Oh,
he tried a centering pass, and it is going to be a hand call on the Seagulls.
So now the first great attacking chance by the Knights, and it's great to see Christian take the ball straight up the sideline. None of the Seagulls really stepped in to try to stop him until he got about 20 yards away from the goal.
Not only cleared it from one end, but advanced it on the other end. And here is Gabe Ramirez with a kick from the right side. He tries to center. The ball knocked away by the Seagulls. Out to Fouchenet. He'll wind up and kick from long distance, blocked away by the Seagulls and cleared by Salisbury. Mike, football too, obviously. Very tough loss for the Knights. Kind of like the women's loss. You got mixed emotions. Very competitive by the Knights, losing by 4 at William Patterson on Saturday. They actually led that game 27-24. Recovered, I believe, a fumble by William Patterson inside their 30-yard line with 5 minutes to go. Had a chance, certainly with a touchdown, to maybe salt that game away. Came up empty on downs. Patterson goes right down the field and scores and ends up winning that game 31-27. So again, on the one hand, very competitive. That's a room for optimism. On the other hand, another loss, and I'm sure the football team is feeling that loss.
Well, that's one of the losses is when you ask somebody, would you rather get blown out or would you rather lose by a small amount of numbers? I would always rather lose by a small amount of numbers because, again, it shows you're competitive. So I'm sure they're taking that loss just a little bit harder than they've taken some of the other ones.
Well, especially, again, having the ball recovered inside the 25 or 30-yard line with a chance, a touchdown. And obviously, you're still 25, 30 yards away, but touchdown, you got a 10-point lead with maybe 2-3 minutes to go, and essentially the game's over unless you don't recover an onside kick potentially, I guess.
Yeah, Art and I were at the arena doing the volleyball game, and right when the volleyball game was over, that's when the Knights took their first lead, and the first lead all season long, and it was announced to the crowd, and everybody was going crazy. But by the time I'd made it home, the game was over, and it was kind of a shock and a little bit dismayed and disheartened that the Knights lost the game.
Hatch was the quarterback, I believe. Watts had a good game running. The Knights actually ran the ball very well for maybe the first time this season and defended a lot better on the run, too.
Yeah, they did a great job. Again, I know they don't want to hear that. They want the victory put in their column, but much better competitive job on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, by the football team.
Yeah, the one win over the weekend, as you mentioned, was volleyball. As it was a clean sweep, 3-0 in that match with Penn State Harrisburg, as Keenan Carroll comes out, makes the play, and that was the final home game for women's volleyball. That 3-0 victory over Harrisburg. They'll wrap up the season. They've got a match today at York, and then on the 30th at Mary Washington, the 31st at Wesley.
Yeah, that's coming close very fast for all sports now. Unfortunately, the only sport that will be going on to the tournament, the Capital Athletic Conference tournament, will be men and women's cross country.
And that'll be Saturday the 31st.
That'll be Saturday.
Yeah.
And the outlook for them is, well, it's really hard to tell. Cross country teams usually don't run against each other. They usually stay close to their home base of operations and run in all different kind of opens and meets. Judging off the way that the Knights have performed this year, we're looking for the Knights to be in the middle of the pack to the upper part of the pack for this cross-country meet. And hopefully if things run really well, we can get one or two runners to get some personal bests. That may move the Knights up into the top 3 spots.
Hey, Mike, a pretty good opening 10 minutes or so here for the Knights. They have advanced the ball twice into Salisbury territory, and they've been able to hold the Seagulls off the board so far.
And both those advances have been really due to some great footwork and dribbling by Christian Rice.
Yep. Football plays Kane on the 31st, and then they'll wrap up their season, I believe, on the 14th against CNU as the Knights work it again into the offensive zone. But Salisbury able to take it away. And then after that, the final football game about a week or so later, basketball ready to start.
They're in the gym practicing right now as we speak, getting ready for their opening games. And, it's going to be nice to get back into the gym and smell the wood and see how the Knights are going to perform. It's always fun to start a new season.
I don't know how many fall sports stars might be winter sports stars. The only one who comes to mind potentially is Jamila Gambi, women's soccer right into women's basketball. And you're not talking about a whole lot of preparation time between the one ending of one season, the start of the other. Not sure if there's anybody else who plays in the fall who would be playing in the winter too as well.
Well, there might be some football players that go into wrestling, but that's more of a individual sport, and the conditioning part will be the biggest key for them. But we're starting to see the end of two-sport athletes, especially back-to-back, either fall, winter, or winter, spring.
I don't know what's the bigger holdup there. Is it just the wear and tear on the bodies, or maybe it's a mental thing, or is it just simply academics?
All three.
Okay.
And we're getting to be where, in order to be competitive, it's getting to where it's taking year-round training.
Yeah.
And they have to get into the weight room year-round. They have to make sure that they're getting out and doing their own individual skills and drills.
And we've seen that in the soccer games throughout the fall, seeing obviously lacrosse and also softball practicing in the background as the Seagulls get a shot on goal. But Keenan Carroll, the nice save there.
Also, there's some legislation, at least in soccer, to see if the membership wants to go more to like what tennis does in the NCAA, where they have a fall season and a spring season, elongate some of the season for soccer, and that will eliminate some of the injuries. It'll eliminate some of the wear and tear on the body, and it also helps them with their academics if they go that way.
Is the only sport that actually does that to maybe a slight degree tennis?
Yeah, tennis is the only one that has games in the fall that
because
count.
I mean, I don't know, but the obviously the huge gap between, let's say, the first half and the second half of the season. What would the coaches think about at least soccer, maybe, and others doing a split season, a little bit in the fall, a little bit in the spring?
It depends on what coach you talk to. There's a lot that are for it, because again, it allows your team to heal a little bit and also not get as injured, and one key injury won't just implode your season.
Yep.
And then there's a lot of, as we see an offside call there, there's a lot of coaches that just want it to be the pure sport, and you play it in the fall. You get it all done, and then you move on to,
especially if you're pointing
else.
towards your conference, the Capital Games. If you end up playing your non-conference in the fall and your Capital in the spring, the whole purpose of the non-conference is to kind of build. And if you've got to be off for 4 or 5 months, or at least 3 months, I guess, that could kind of disrupt things.
It could, but if you have an injury to one of your key players.
Keenan Carroll right there again. Looked like the player there, Kira for Salisbury, had a good shot and maybe rushed his shot a little bit, Mike.
Yeah, Runukera had a great look at it. Just looked like he may have hit the top of the ball more than solidly in the middle. But going back to the conference play, if you have 1 or 2 players that go down and you don't have them for your conference, why not have it in the spring to where you can come back in? You've put a lot of things into place. The kids understand what's going on.
Well, let's face it. I mean, a split season would have been a godsend, I would
think.
think.
For the Knights, it'd been great.
For both men and women's
Yes.
soccer.
It had been fantastic for them. Even for volleyball, it would have been nice. Now, the only thing that you get into is, bringing some extra athletes in the second semester, and how are you going to mesh those in? But basketball deals with that all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So it's something that is out there for the general population. I know Coach Garrock gets all the NCAA legislation and passes it on to all the coaches, and he was talking about that's one of the big things that the soccer folks are talking about right now.
Well, we played about 13 minutes. Knights have battled an undefeated Salisbury team, undefeated in the Capital Conference. Again, they came in with 3 ties in the conference, but no losses so far. They have battled here in this first 13 minutes or so.
Oh, and it's great to see that haven't given up those 3 quick goals like the women did against Salisbury. Although the men's team is playing a little bit more conservative than the women's team did.
Nice header attempt there by Cade Lowe. Knights have actually spent a good deal of time of this first 13, 14 minutes, Mike, on the Salisbury side of the field.
They've played some really good soccer, and we're seeing some
nice
great
give
runs.
And go there by Cade Lowe to Ramirez, but knocked away by the Seagulls. Taken right back by Lowe. Nobody there on the left side for that, though. 2 shots on goal so far for Salisbury, 1 corner kick. Knights still looking for their first SOG and first corner kick.
Well, one of the big differences we're seeing is there's 4 people attacking for the Knights, and not just one with 2 or 3 lagging behind. So it's good to see them attacking in numbers.
Fouchenet clears, at least temporarily. Salisbury quickly going back on the attack. You wonder if the Seagulls maybe, perhaps to a certain degree, took the Knights lightly today, and they're going to have to step up their play a little bit.
Well, that's one thing that's dangerous about a team that doesn't have any conference wins, is you can actually take them very light, especially after you look at the numbers that they've given up over the season. But the Knights, to their credit, they come to play and play as hard as they can every game.
And Salisbury's just having a hard time bringing it up. Now they get it around to the right side. Let's see if they do a centering pass here. They attempt to, but knocked away by Horman.
Nice job. Again, not letting them have the ball free and open in the middle of the field. And I'm sure Keenan Carroll's very appreciative of that also.
I'm sure, much like the St. Mary's game, they just like to forget that game at York on Saturday, the men did. It was only 3-0 at halftime, Mike, but 3 goals given up by Keenan in the second half. He gets pulled for Hunter Collins, the backup goalkeeper, and again, the Knights ended up giving up 6 second-half goals, ended up losing that game 9-0 on Saturday, their worst loss of the season.
Well, unfortunately, the old saying, when it rains, it pours, was really relevant to that one game.
Fouchenet trying to get it ahead to Christian Rice. Bounces past him, though. See a few Salisbury players warming up, getting ready to come in. Here's a shot right on goal again, but Keenan Carroll right there.
Yeah, that was one of the easiest saves that Keenan's had all season long. I'm sure he's wishing that all the saves or shots that the opposing team has taken would have been that easy.
Kelly, nice pass left side, and they're doing a good job, Mike, not only advancing but using both sides of the field.
Yeah, they're switching the fields really great. It's good to see them playing with this much consistency and this much poise after a real blowout on Saturday.
Of course, the Knights have nothing to lose, as we mentioned. Maybe Salisbury might take them lightly today, and if they're looking to get a home victory, Mike, this will be their last chance because they've only got one game after this, and this is coming up on Wednesday, the final game of the season at Frostburg.
Well, yeah, Salisbury is, like I said, they're squarely in third place.
And I would imagine they need a victory.
They need a victory because a loss right now could potentially push them down to 6th place, maybe even down to tied for 6th.
And of course, the other thing, they don't want another tie.
They don't want another
tie. 4th tie. 3 ties already.
Yeah, that wouldn't sit well with them.
And as you mentioned, the way they factor in ties is not like Major League Baseball where everything it's a half a win, half a loss, and winning percentage and all that. It's basically a tie is not very good. Is not what you're looking for. You're looking to get victories.
Yeah, you need they go off of wins, losses, and then head to head, and then if they have to, they'll go into percentages.
Carroll, ball bounces just to the right of the goal. It was a point-blank shot, and Keenan had reacted, but he was powerless basically on that shot, Mike.
Yeah, that was too close.
Too close and too hard.
About 12 yards away from the goal, and just a powerful shot we saw that was attempted, but fortunately for the Knights, a little bit too much to the right for the Seagulls are able to pull it off.
A few subs getting ready to come in here for Salisbury now.
You know, and this is one advantage that Salisbury has over the Knights right now is a lot of healthy bodies.
Yeah, at this point, you wonder who's eligible to really come off the bench and play a number of minutes today for the Knights.
Plus, with it being a little overcast, a little chilly, wind's blowing a little bit, how fast is it going to be for the Knights to be able to warm up? And when they come in, are they going to be able to really give a lot of help?
See Carlos Munoz over there. Maybe he'll be coming in soon. But Josh Smith, I'm not sure if he's available today.
Yeah, the injured list is kind of guarded right now because I don't even know if the players know if they're off the injured list or not yet. It's that type of year.
Lullabaw's another one that comes to mind. And he's been obviously on and off the injured list all season long. Nice defensive play by the Knights. Centering pass knocked away by Colin Flynn. Salisbury tries to keep it in the Knights zone. And Greg Allen boots to the left side. Well, with all the injuries, a number of players have really stepped up here, Mike, over the last month or so. Colin Flynn's one, and certainly Greg Allen another.
And again, you just have to tip your hat to them for being able to play in so many different positions, so many different alignments, just trying to do a little patchwork as you go through and try to make sure that you have enough players available to finish out the season.
Next webcast coming up on Saturday, football against Kane, October the 31st. You look at the New Jersey Athletic Conference, and it looks like it's going to come down to Wesley and Salisbury. Wesley, I believe, knocked off Rowan over the weekend. Not sure that ruins Rowan's chances for the postseason, but Wesley is looking very, very good. Then again, I think Mount Union's won like 100 straight in regular season. That's mind-blowing when I saw that stat. They haven't lost a regular season game, I thought I read, since 2005. That's unbelievable.
Amazing.
100 in a row. And probably of the 100 victories, there's a header into the goal, and that was just a perfectly placed pass, Mike. And obviously a good directed header shot by Salisbury, because the goalie Carroll went to his right and the shot went over to the right side of the goal.
Again, Keenan was following the ball like he's taught to, but you were exactly correct when you said that it was a perfectly placed shot to the head of number 24, Nathaniel Eben.
So a good assist by Salisbury, and they take a 1-0 lead. And now we'll see how the Knights react, not to mention how the Seagulls react if they want to step up the pressure now.
Yeah, well, the Knights have to react in the fashion of, okay, we've given up a goal, we've done that before. Let's make sure we don't give up anything else for this first half. Like you said, the Seagulls, on the other hand, how are they going to react? Are they going to add more pressure, and we see a mounting attack right now?
And they've got a good chance here from the middle. Shot. No, what a great save with Fouchonnet right behind the goalkeeper, Keenan Carroll, but Keenan with a good save there.
That was a very good save because no one was really stepping up and putting pressure on the shooter for the Seagulls.
And that was a good look for Salisbury. Mike, they had 2 or 3 players down there and several right in front of the goal. They have 4 shots on goal now. Knights still looking for their first shot on goal and first corner kick. On Saturday at York, they were outshot 36-5. 20 shots on goal for York, just 2 shots on goal on Saturday for the Knights.
And that's just the way the offense has been this whole season. It's nothing new to them. They understand that, and so their real job is to make sure that they don't give up more than 2 goals per game.
If you'd have told Coach Patino before the season, 1-15 record, and out of the 16 games shut out 10 times, unless you could really obviously lay out all the injuries they've suffered, I would think that he'd have a hard time recognizing those numbers.
Yeah, he'd have been laughing at you because they were looking at, if everybody was healthy, they were looking at being in the top 6. Unfortunately,
with a good offense.
I think that would have been probably their best attribute would have been their offense, but now that's just hasn't happened, and you can't foresee all the injuries. I mean, you can understand 1 or 2 injuries, but the multiple injuries to the same players has just been something that no one could predict.
Header after the corner kick from the right side, knocked away by the Knights. Yeah, the injuries, again, Lonergan has hardly played at all this season. Mullabaugh has been off and on. Josh Smith has been down lately, and of course at times we've also seen Carlos Munoz out. So I mean, a lot of players have been injured. One of the ones who hasn't been injured all season, unlike the women who lost their goalkeeper in the first game, Keenan Carroll's been out there the whole time.
He's been out there, and
you got to take your hat off to him because he's been really besieged.
He's
at
faced
times.
a lot of shots.
And outside of the 2 road games at St. Mary's and York, he's really not had a game where he's given up tons of goals.
No, and you would think that if you had an offense that was scoring at a good clip, that you wouldn't be 1-15. You'd be able to be in a lot of games. You know, another player for the men's that have been there the whole time, nice save again by Keenan, has been Greg Allen.
Yep.
And we've seen him in multiple positions. Striker, midfielder, and then all of a sudden back on defense too. So he's done a lot of work.
Colin Flynn too, and Cade Lowe. Good to have Sam and Horman back in there. He's been missing some action as the Seagulls. Patino knocks that shot away, at least momentarily. Knights trying to clear, and Salisbury trying to keep it in here.
Yeah, the pressure has really been ratcheted up by the Seagulls. They're feeling it now. Well, we got one goal. That's great. If we can get one more, that might put the Knights in a position where they can't come back.
I think we're going to have a foul called here on Salisbury. A bump from behind that bumped Cade Lowe off the ball.
Yeah, number 3, Nicholas Carrington, gave a little bit of an extra shoulder there to Cade and pushed him past the ball.
So Ramirez will take the kick from the right side. Knights again still looking for their first shot on goal. Knights can't seem to get the header that obviously resulted in a goal for Salisbury, and now the Seagulls back on the attack.
And Ramirez there just didn't get enough of height under the ball. They brought Sam Horman all the way down at 6'4". Great target, just not enough height to get it up there to where he could take control of the ball in the air.
Yeah, with Sam out there at 6'4", boy, you'd love to see a lot of corner kicks.
Oh, that would be something that you would have to look at as part of your offensive philosophy. And
for a struggling offense, you can manufacture offense that way.
You can manufacture offense that way. Plus, if again, the big word, if Brahima Mulabah was available all season long, that's another person you want to try to manufacture corner kicks for, because he is a big, strong young man, 6'1", 6'2". He and Sam could be almost the twin towers out there. Great targets for headers.
Maybe it depends on the opposition, Mike, or perhaps the philosophy of the opposition. But in your estimation, just in a general rule, how tough is it for teams who want to get corner kicks to get them?
Again, it goes back to your offensive philosophy and what you practice every day. It's not as hard as a lot of people would want to think if you practice trying to go for those corner kicks. Obviously, you have to have, one, a good passing team. Two, you have to have possession long enough. And then you have to have the mentality of, listen, I'm not going to really look so much for a shot for myself. I'm going to try to bounce it off of one of these defenders and get the corner kick for somebody else.
Ramirez gets it over to Keenan Carroll, who slips. It comes out to Salisbury. Carroll's able to get back into the goal. There's a shot taken and knocked away. I don't think Fouchonnet was able to get maybe a piece of that.
Yeah, I think that went right into Fouchonnet's body there. So he sacrificed his body for that.
And I don't know if he, as he went by, actually made contact with the Salisbury player, or if maybe the Salisbury player simply slipped there.
Yeah, well, we've already seen a couple people slip out there on the turf. Again, we've had a little light rain on and off all day long. You just never know if that's going to be a problem. Sometimes the length of the cleat is not digging down into the turf enough. So I don't think anybody really clipped number 15 so much as maybe just got him off balance, or he might have went down by himself.
And that's Ryan Gruss. He's a freshman. Looks like he's going to stay out there as Carroll boots it down the field. Salisbury trying to make a move here with a 1-0 lead. Good centering pass. Shot. Oh, just off to the left. Had a good shot at the left side of the goal, Mike, and just too far left.
Yeah, Justin Lee just pulled that ball or shanked the ball off to the left.
So Josh Smith will be in. Noah Hogan also checking in here for the Knights. Josh, another one they were really relying on for offense this year, and lately he has been up and down with his playing time as far as injuries are concerned.
Yeah, it's just like just about everybody else out there. Once they start to feel a little bit comfortable and it looks like they might be getting into some type of offensive rhythm, an injury pulls them out to the sidelines for multiple games.
Greg Allen battling, but it's going to be Salisbury with the throw-in.
And that's what you like to see. Greg has never given up all season long. He battles from the opening whistle to the end, just playing as hard as he can, but playing clean soccer too. And that's the type of athlete that all coaches would want to have.
Gabe Ramirez knocks the ball away, saves it from going out, knocked out by Salisbury, so the Knights will have it.
And just like Gabe manufactured that goal kick, you can manufacture corner kicks in just about the same way. Really what's been the holdback for the Knights is just being able to possess the ball for long periods of time down on the offensive end.
Yeah, that's the key, obviously. If you have very few times on the offensive attack, you're not going to obviously have that many corner kicks.
But we've seen several times that the Knights have been able to get down into the offensive end and really not look to manufacture corner kicks. I think the last home game, though, the men did have a majority of the corner kicks going into the last 10 minutes of the game and just wasn't
Nice
able
place
to.
by Fouchonnet, lost it, knocked away, Mike. You know, I don't know. I don't know if you could tell by going through all the box scores of all the goals that the Knights have given up this year. What percentage of the goals given up by the Knights have come directly off corner kicks? I don't know if that'd be maybe a third.
It'd probably be about a quarter, but what that does is it puts so much stress on your defense, and again, you're chasing and chasing and chasing.
And generally speaking, the Knights have given up more corner kicks than they actually have had.
Yes, and it gets into your legs, and then we've seen how that slows down the Knights' defense to react, and some open shots have happened that really put Keenan Carroll one-on-one with a great striker, and the strikers will win that the majority of the time.
You know, and as we've said, I mean, for a team that's struggling on offense, it may not seem like a big deal to some other teams, but yeah, when you're struggling on offense, Mike, and it's 1-0 or 2-1, and you give up a goal and you're now down by 2, that's huge.
Yeah, it starts to play in your psyche of, oh my gosh, we gave up another goal, and is this next team going to go on a run again? And so you start thinking all these things instead of focusing on just playing the sport.
Here's another corner kick for Salisbury. This one a little bit too far out in the middle, and knocked away by Josh Smith. Christian Rice trying to head it forward. And Rice will be called for a foul.
And in the opening 10 minutes, we saw that the Knights had some great opportunities of taking the ball down, possessing the ball a lot more than they have in this last 20 minutes of play.
Knights maybe running out of gas, or was it more about what Salisbury's doing, I guess, that has limited the Knights' offensive opportunities here?
Well, you have to look at them and say, limited amount of players, limited amount of practice, playing a game on Saturday. I know Salisbury did also, but we've seen the Salisbury players come in mass.
Finally, a foul call. Gabe Ramirez was getting ambushed down the field, Mike, and finally it looks like a whistle against Salisbury. Referees letting them play here in the last couple of minutes. Patino and Salisbury Seagull got tangled up. Well, both went down. There was no call.
Yeah, it's almost a coin flip when they're going to call a foul or not.
Got another whistle. Fouchonnet was trying to boot it into a crowd of players, hoping for maybe...
Looks like we'll have another free kick for the Knights, just right outside the box.
Now this will most likely be a shot on goal, you think?
It's going to depend on how many people they put on the wall, and again, it goes towards the philosophy of Coach Patino. Does he want to run a set play off of this, run somebody towards the goal, try to
20 yards away?
in?
And the Knights have not had a shot on goal, as you can see. No corner kicks just yet as well. 5 shots on goal, though, for the Seagulls.
Oh, and it would have been fantastic for the Knights if that was just another 2 or 3 yards closer to the goal when that happened, because then we would have a penalty kick.
What will Fouchonnet do with this kick here? Tries to hit it. Oh, great save by the goalkeeper, and the Knights cannot get the rebound. Boy, he was able to soar that at just the right altitude, Mike, just the right height, and almost got it in, and now the Knights will have a corner kick.
A lot of velocity by Kennett, and great kick, but the wall was put just in the right spot where the goalkeeper was able to get his hands on the ball.
Josh Smith, right side corner kick, first corner kick of the game for the Knights. A little too far for a header for the Knights. Knights keep it in, though. Ramirez trying to go to Greg Allen. Knocked away by Salisbury.
Yeah, and again, way over the head of Horman. He was looking like they were trying to use him more of a distraction than trying to use him as a weapon. But at 6'4", he's towering over a lot of the players out there.
Will they start posting him up if it's a right corner kick, maybe way left, perhaps? Or at least on the left side.
Yeah, you would think so, and try to take advantage of just his height. And again, he's a big, strong young man. His shoulders are able to carve out a lot of room in there. And like we saw Salisbury score their first goal, if you can get just the right angles going towards that person that is the dominant physical stature.
Guess they must have called a foul there on Josh Smith. He and I can't figure out why. Josh had taken the ball, was headed upfield, Mike, and the whistle blew, and he looked back and said, "What?"
Yeah, it's hard to figure out soccer referees.
Or just referees.
Yeah, sometimes.
It seems like every sport, every season, that comes up. Nice move by the Knights to move it over to the right side. But that shot way over the goal and to the right.
It looks like we had someone called offsides.
No, Hogan was taking that shot from the right. So the Knights now have a corner kick, but still no shots on goal. They've done a good job, though, since that Salisbury goal of keeping it a one-goal ball game right now.
Yeah, and they faced a lot of intensity and pressure right after that goal was scored. So great job of not folding.
And we'll see how this transpires in the final 10 minutes or so. I know we've talked about this before. You go into halftime only down 1-0. You're still in the game. You go down 2-0. The way the Knights have really struggled with their offense, and it could be a completely different second half as Gabe Ramirez hits the turf, and looks like another foul called on Salisbury here.
And now the referee is warning Kenneth Fouchonnet, saying, "I called the foul. It's okay," but sometimes referees don't call fouls as quickly as players or coaches would like that to happen.
Fouchonnet about 40 yards away, kicks to the right side, trying to get it to Josh Smith for a centering pass, and the goalkeeper right there to make the play.
Again, another great play. Sam Horman was in that play that time, coming down and looking like he was, looks like Josh Smith was trying to target him. So great to see them trying to use that. Oh, this is a breakaway here.
Horman right there, but he missed it, and the shot is in. Boy, Horman looked like he had it, had the advantage, Mike, and then the player who was injured earlier, Ryan Gruss, the freshman forward, was able to slide away from Horman, and at that point, point blank against Keenan Carroll, and no chance there for Carroll to make that stop.
Well, it was just a very quick counterattack by the Seagulls, able to take advantage of the Knights kind of watching the ball and saying, "Hey, we got a good attack there."
Although it looked like Horman had a good angle and was going to make the stop, and maybe simply overran it a little bit, I guess. And that's a huge goal, Mike. Now the Knights down by 2 here.
Now it's really danger time for the Knights, and we usually don't say that until the second half. But if the Knights give up another goal right now, it's going to be just I don't know, Mount Everest for them to try to score 3 goals to win the game.
Well, again, the Knights have never scored more than 1 goal this season in any game. And on Saturday against York, they trailed at halftime by 3. And then that lead really ballooned in the second half to 9 as the York men's soccer team was able to score 6 times in the second half. Salisbury trying to make a move, knocked away by Horman. Carroll will go and get it, knock it out.
Yeah, it looks like he couldn't get to it fast enough, though, and it'll be another corner kick for the Seagulls.
And the corner kick's really starting to mount up in Salisbury's favor here now in the first half. I think it's a 6-1 advantage maybe.
Well, obviously coming into the game, you always think about the win. Realistically, the Knights would be satisfied if they could have tied the game. And with a 1-goal lead, that's still a possibility for the Knights to tie the game. Getting into 2, maybe 3 goals ahead, it's going to be just one of those almost miracle comebacks that the Knights are going to need.
And it's going to be tough to make the comeback unless you get some shots on goal, Mike. And again, still no shots on goal for the Knights here in this first half, at least.
Yeah, we've seen about 3 or 4 flurries where they've really executed well to get the ball down the field, not being able to get that final shot taken, but being able to possess the ball a little bit more on the offensive end. We're going to need a lot more steady downpour instead of just little flurries.
Now Salisbury really kind of slowing it down a little bit, spacing things out, looking for a shot maybe.
Yeah, they're going to look for the best available opportunity, but they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they possess the ball long enough to let that opportunity happen. Because again, some of the MO on the Knights have been this season. If you let them make one mistake, it can multiply into 2 or 3 mistakes.
Carroll will kick it away as we are down under 7 minutes left until halftime. Well, it's going to be interesting. We were talking a few minutes ago about Wesley football, Mike. It's going to be interesting to see how the New Jersey Athletic Conference wraps up in a few weeks between Wesley and Salisbury, and once you get to the national tournament, the Division III tournament, to see if it's like past years. Wesley does very, very well, meets Whitewater or Mountain Union, and that's it.
Yeah, we saw last year Wesley make it through their region really easily. Then we saw them have a little bit tougher games, and then all of a sudden they run into Whitewater, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah, and when you're Wesley and you're down 42-0 at halftime, that probably takes some getting used to.
Yeah, they're usually on the other end.
Oh, yeah.
So that just tells you how good Whitewater and Mount Union have been.
Of course, now Whitewater lost a game this year, I believe, to Oshkosh, and there's a few other teams out there that are looking pretty good, including, I guess, Mary Hardin.
Mary Hardin is having a great year this year. And if you look at that top 5 or 6.
Johns Hopkins, I think?
Johns Hopkins. Now, that's a new name into the top 10 for football. But when you talk about Johns Hopkins, you're usually thinking Division I lacrosse.
Right, yeah.
And that's one of the rare times that a Division III school, Johns Hopkins, you can go ahead and declare that you want to play up at a different division for your different sports. And because they are so good at lacrosse, they go into Division I lacrosse.
And Washington Lee is still undefeated in football. But the problem with the ODAC and some of these conferences is, you do very well in your conference, and then you run into, I guess you could say, a power conference or a power team, a perennial top 10, top 20 team, and it's just like you're not used to it.
Yeah, it's a brand new experience, and I don't know if this would be the first time that if Washington Lee goes on and wins the conference and they get the automatic qualifying bid, I don't know if that's going to be the first time that they go into the NCAA football playoffs, if that's their first foray into it, and I'm sure that they're just would be very ecstatic to get that.
No, they've been there a couple times in the last 10, 15 years.
All right.
But I'm not sure they've actually hosted a game.
Well, this could be a great opportunity for them. We saw this year in women's softball on Division I level that James Madison University was able to, for the first time, host a region and super region. So,
but I wondered if this was comparable to the Capital for like teams that really dominate in soccer, or perhaps probably not lacrosse because of Salisbury, but basketball certainly, and you're really feeling good about yourself, and then you run into I think Washington College for basketball, and that's where you run into a team that is just a powerhouse.
Yeah, again, you're not used to that. You feel really good about yourself, and any time that you can make the NCAA tournament, you have to be very excited that you made it there.
Especially when you see Mountain Union down the road.
That's right. And for the players, there's always that eternal hope and optimism. I think after a little
the
while,
hope would be somebody else would knock out Mountain Union.
Yeah, but
we don't have to face them.
Do you really want to play that team that knocked Mountain Union out?
True.
Well,
I think I'd rather play them. But then again, I'm sure the players, hey, we'd like to have the notoriety, if you will, of being the team that knocked out Mountain Union.
So there's always that. There's always that opportunity, right?
I mean, what did you used to tell your women's players, basketball players, when you were facing a real powerhouse?
Well, we went in
like your trip to Coastal.
Well, when we go down and play anybody that we knew that was just more talented than we were, we told them we're just going to focus on what we do, and Coastal, they're going to score points, and they're going to be bigger than us, and their point guards were always almost as tall as our centers, so we just focused on what we could do, and a couple times it almost worked out to where we had a great opportunity in the last 5 minutes to actually pull off an upset. I think the closest we got was 8 points, 2 different occasions. So
kind of comparable to men's basketball. Well, probably 6-7 years ago now, where they with 4 minutes to go actually had VMI tied.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of people worry, and then you have to start worrying yourself as a smaller coach or a smaller division coach of saying, well, if we do pull this off, is anybody going to want to play us ever again?
Well, I think even if you come close, they'll say, well, nice seeing you.
There has been some teams that have done that.
Yeah.
We're just
won't be seeing you for a while.
Yeah, we're fortunate on the women's basketball side that the schools that we played. Oh, this is a Another point-blank
and
shot.
off to the left and in for a third Salisbury goal here with 2:11 to go. And that play kind of developed very quickly, Mike. And again, Keenan Carroll kind of at the mercy. It happened so quickly that the shot went off to the right of Carroll, to the left of the goal, and he just didn't have a chance to really stop that shot.
It looked like a little bit of give and go there, and Daniel Kim was able to have a point-blank shot right inside the goal box. And like you said, Keenan had nothing to do but guess which way to go, and unfortunately guessed the wrong way.
So now it's suddenly 3-0 as we're still 2 minutes to go till halftime. And for the longest time of this first half, the Knights had really managed to keep it a 1-goal deficit, but Salisbury has scored a couple of goals here as we approach halftime, and now a 3-goal lead for the Seagulls.
You know, and it's a catch-22 situation for the Knights and Coach Patino. He's sitting there and he knows he has to make subs because you can't leave the players out there the full 90 minutes. But do you put subs in, and if they do, is that going to cause any kind of letdown, or is it going to be I'm putting subs in and they're playing out of position, or do you keep your starters in for a longer period of time and let them wear down even more, and we still might have a 3-goal deficit?
And on Saturday, it was a 3-goal deficit at halftime and 6 second-half goals given up by the Knights at York. Keenan Carroll was taken out in the second half. You wonder if they'll remove him in the second half here as the goalkeeper and perhaps put Hunter Collins in as the backup goalkeeper at least some point in the second half.
Well, once it gets away from you so much, there's nothing that you can really do.
Because the Knights do have that one remaining game on the schedule on Wednesday at Frostburg.
Yeah, and it's great experience for Hunter. So you have to weigh that out as a coach.
Should add, I know we talked about this in the Marymount game, but of course the Knights have no seniors on this year's roster. So we can't say that a senior is playing his last home game today because that's not the case.
Yeah, there's no seniors out there, so there's a lot of optimism and hope for next year. There'd be even a lot more hope and optimism if someone could tell them that they're not going to have any injuries.
Yeah, and probably the question Coach Patino doesn't want to field is how do you keep the players uninjured?
Yeah,
I'm not sure any coach can tell you that.
Yeah, there's no way that you can guarantee that type of thing, or sit there and say, well, we're going to do X, Y, and Z to keep everybody healthy. Because we saw in the women's game, in the first game of the year with Bridgewater, just a little freak accident and collision there caused a lacerated kidney.
Well, Mike, we've hit halftime, and the Knights have one corner kick, one shot on goal, no goals. But Salisbury really dominating the first half stats, especially the last few minutes, and they are able to take a 3-0 lead in at halftime.
Yeah, and that 3-0 lead might be one of those insurmountable things that the Knights need to have. We're looking for a miracle comeback now for the Knights. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's just one of those issues that we haven't seen the Knights put together 3 goals or multiple goals this season.
So, again, your halftime score here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. It is Salisbury 3 and Southern Virginia University nothing. And we'll take a little break and come back for second half action in just a little while, so stay with us. Jim Bresnahan, Mike Harmon back here at the fields at Southern Virginia University. Halftime score once again, Salisbury 3, Southern Virginia University nothing. Getting ready to start the second half, Mike. Salisbury again came in with no losses, 3 ties in the Capital Conference, 4 victories, 4-0-3 in the conference, 9-3-3 overall. The Knights came in with a record of 1-15 overall, 0-7 in the Capital Conference. And the Knights battled Salisbury for much of the first half, trailing much of that first half, only 1-0, but Salisbury was able to get a couple of goals late. And so we start second half action with the Seagulls on top here 3-0 and really dominating in a lot of the categories, including outshooting the Knights in that first half. 13 shots for Salisbury, just 3 shots for the Knights, and they don't have any shots. Actually have 1 shot on goal, I believe.
1 shot on goal for the Knights, 8 for the Seagulls. 3 goals for the Seagulls scored by Iben, Gross, and Kim.
And Fouchenet had the 1 shot on goal. That came off a kicker about 20 yards away. Where the goalkeeper for Salisbury, Drew Stadel, made a good save.
And it looks like the Seagulls are coming out trying to put this game away quickly right now as they manufacture a goal corner kick in the first about 40 seconds of this half.
This will be their 5th corner kick. Knights have 1 corner kick so far. Attempt at a header, but Keenan Carroll right there to make. That's Hunter Collins into the game. Hunter Collins, of course, replaced Keenan Carroll in the second half of the game Saturday at York, but that was after Carroll gave up 3 second half goals after he had given up 3 first half goals, Mike.
Yeah, and we're not saying that the game is over by any means. We always have that eternal hope that the Knights will put a 3 spot up on the board at least and give Salisbury a 4th tie, but really getting Hunter some game experience is monumental now.
Knights would like to do something that they haven't done all season, and really a couple things. Win at home, first of all, Mike, and most immediate is score more than 1 goal. And they're going to have to obviously score more than one goal to get back in this game.
Yeah, 1 goal is not going to do anything for the Knights except lift their spirits a little bit. They need to score 3 to tie this game.
Colin Flynn trying to make the play on the right side.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing the Seagulls come out with a lot more spirit and a lot more intensity than we saw in the first half as they're trying to put this game really out of reach for the Knights.
Hey, we had a few of the women's soccer players stop by.
We had some stop into the
what do we have, 4?
booth. Yeah, we had 4 at one point. We had Alicia Blackham, we had Savannah Sorensen, Savannah Uri, and Tatiana Monson.
But none of the, let's say Tatiana's busy today, obviously, with sports information, but none of the 3 wanted to talk to you.
I know.
I mean, as far as on air.
Oh, yeah, they gabbed to both of us for all the halftime, but actually saying something on air is something different, and they are a little shy then. And that's the first time I've seen Savannah Uri shy.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself, yeah. They must think you're going to ambush them with a question or something.
Yeah,
Put them on the spot.
They haven't listened to me this season. I don't ask a lot of tough questions.
Fouchenet trying to clear.
The ball's still right there in the goal box.
Colin Flynn battling after it.
There we go. Clear it out to the side, guys. Clear it out to the side. Even though it's a throw-in, much less dangerous than a corner kick or the ball being right there in the middle of the field.
Especially from the left side. You don't want a corner kick from the left side. So as you see the numbers, 8 shots on goal to 1 in favor of Salisbury. 6-1 advantage in corner kicks.
And that's something the Knights have been battling all season long, is just being on the wrong end of all these stats.
And it really does look like Salisbury has come out with the express purpose here in the second half of trying to get goals, maybe 4 and 5, and really put this game away.
Yeah, a 3-goal advantage you would think would be enough to win. They're looking for that 4-goal advantage and really putting the pressure on the Knights to, like you said, do something that they haven't done all season long.
Nice kick to the right side.
Offsides.
Offsides is the call, fortunately, because it was going to be another point-blank shot faced by Keenan Carroll. And I'm sure Salisbury is trying to get its game going in preparation for the Capital tournament.
Yeah, it'll be something to see as they go into that tournament, to see how they react playing against some teams that are really hot this season, York and Wesley. You know, you look at Christopher Newport, and they're down ranked fifth or sixth right now.
Of course, the women will be wrapping up their season tomorrow, Mike, at Frostburg. The men will wrap up their season the following day, coming up on Wednesday at Frostburg.
Yeah, and on the women's side for the Capital, again, we have Christopher Newport and St. Mary's, both of them at 7-1, just having fantastic seasons. Then we have Frostburg sitting in third place. So a loss tomorrow could knock them down at least to fifth or sixth place, and that's what the Knights are playing for, is to ruin some of Frostburg's joy and enthusiasm.
Yeah, that was a big win, by the way, on Saturday for York's women's soccer team, because they're trying to get the sixth spot. They're a game ahead of Harrisburg right now. And so if the Knights had been able to beat them on Saturday, that would have been a huge loss for York.
Yeah, that'd have really put some stress into their life.
And again, Salisbury going to the right side, trying with the centering pass. Great centering pass to the left side now. Shot is in for a fourth goal for Salisbury. And when they centered that ball, Mike, they actually had two players who could have potentially taken shots.
Yeah,
and the shot was taken by Rinikera, and he gets the fourth Salisbury goal.
Yeah, like you said, there was two there. The first one actually just kind of begged off and said, I don't have the best shot, and must have known that Rinikera was coming straight through, because that was just right on his foot and into the upper part of the goal.
And so now it is 4-0. And we were talking, I think, of all the home games, both men and women's soccer this year that we've done over the last couple of months, I think the biggest deficit either of the teams has faced, a final deficit, was a 4-goal advantage. So we really haven't seen too many blowouts here at home. The only blowouts have come on the road. The women, of course, losing a couple of games on the road by a pretty hefty margin, Mike. I know they lost to St. Mary's, obviously, in a very hefty score of 7-1, and then ended up losing to Harrisburg 8-0 on October the 17th. The men also just have a couple of blowout games, the 9-0 game at York this past Saturday and 7-0 at St. Mary's. So neither of these teams have really been blown out of too many games this year, and none at home.
Yeah, but that losing streak and the drought of goal scoring can really start to wear on you as you get further into the season, especially toward the end of it here. And like you said, Salisbury is really working on trying to see what they're going to be like in the Capital Athletic Conference tournament. So they're going to keep the foot on the gas the whole time.
At least you would think for another 10 or 15 minutes.
I would say probably the whole time. Learn how to finish games off, because when you have a chance to keep somebody down, you don't want to give some of these upper level teams right now any chance to come back and score extra goals on you. So you don't want to really go into prevent defense, because sometimes that prevent defense, all it does is allow goals to be scored.
And Salisbury really stepping up the offense here in the first 7 to 8 minutes of this second half. Radically different than the first half, as Salisbury attempt from the right side sails off to the left.
Yeah, it looks like, though, off that header attempt, it went off of Sam Horman. So now the Seagulls again manufactured another corner kick.
This one, though, from the left side. I believe that's going to be their 7th corner kick. 9 shots on goal now for Salisbury. Knights have just 1 corner kick and 1 shot on goal.
Yeah, we saw the first goal scored by the Seagulls actually came off a corner kick on a header, and so we know they're very adept at making these passes.
That one was a little bit low, didn't really get to the center of the field, and the Knights are able to clear. I think that was Cade Lowe who ran into a chair and a player, as the Knights will take it over.
Yeah, they called that as a ball that went out off one of the Seagulls, but I think the referees may have missed that as it was cleared out by the Knights. But we'll take any help we can get right now.
And it looked like the Seagull player was actually trying to keep Lowe from getting to the ball.
Yeah, he was shielding off very well.
Seagulls advancing again, this time up the left side.
Ball played through, but just too far, and Hunter Collins able to come out and play that easily.
Yeah, really haven't. The problem has not been for the Seagulls offense for the Knights trying to defend. It really hasn't been seam passes or over the top passes as much as just centering and corner kicks.
Yeah, a lot of pressure put down the middle of the field by the Seagulls. And usually we see the teams that have given Knights the most problems have been those long, like you said, through balls going straight down the middle of the field, and a defender just outrunning the offensive player outrunning the defense of the Knights. Today, though, we see the ball going down
Another
the
opportunity.
middle of the field.
Oh,
Ooh.
rushed shot, and it's off to the right by Kittleberger for Salisbury.
Yeah, and I don't know if Hunter got a good read on that because he didn't make a move at all. So we're going to assume that he knew it was really off to the right there and wasn't in danger of going into the goal.
No foul called. Sam Kelly got hit from behind.
Yeah, a lot of play-ons by this referee.
Attempted a grounding pass knocked away by Colin Flynn. Knights still out there battling, even though they trail here 4-0. Trailed 3-0 at halftime. Quick start by the Knights trying to advance it upfield.
Well, good thought by Christian, trying to get a little back heel pass to go through. Unfortunately, his teammate didn't read the same movement.
Well, the Knights are still out there hustling all over the field, Mike.
Well, that's one thing we've seen all season long, that the Knights have played, again, from the opening whistle to the ending whistle and never have really just packed it in and gave up on the season.
Salisbury alternates between really attacking and advancing and then kind of spacing things out and maybe trying to see if an opportunity develops. And they get one right in the middle. Oh, great save by Hunter that time.
And then cleared out there by Sam Horman, but
and down the mountain.
Great job. Yeah, someone's going to have to go try to chase that ball. The good news is, though, there's the leaves are kind of clearing out, and you're able to see that bright orange ball a little bit easier now.
The bad news, by now it's on Route 60.
It's on 60 rolling into town.
Another corner kick. Another header attempt. And the Knights are able to knock it away. Hunter Collins looks pretty adept in the goal. That's the backup goalkeeper.
Well, they in practice, he and Keenan get a lot of repetitions in during practices and stuff, and so really it's just been the experience factor that Keenan Carroll has over.
Keenan's a junior, and Hunter's just a freshman. And so maybe Keenan is grooming Hunter, I guess, for the future. Although Keenan will be back next year, hopefully as the goalkeeper.
Yeah, we're hoping that he's able to again play next year. We don't want to say too much. We don't want to put the hex on him or anything and have him get injured in the next game. And looks like again we got a corner kick coming on by the Seagulls,
which would be, I believe, their 9th. So a big hefty advantage there, 9-1 in advantage in corner kicks.
Stoppage in play here. And a yellow card on Colin Flynn, and it must be something that he said.
Referee from a distance heard it. I guess.
Sometimes they have the greatest ears in the world, but the worst eyesight.
Salisbury works it to the right side. Now centers point blank shot, and it hits the bar and goes off. Knights able to dodge a bullet there.
Oh, and
Just a lot of Salisbury players, not to mention the fact gathered right in front of the goal, too.
And you're not going to get a better shot than they had on that little rebound there. But there was nobody in that left-hand side of the goal.
Missed it by a foot or so, and so the Knights stay only 4 behind here. But it's been one Salisbury advance after another, Mike.
Yeah, this second half has just been a lot of pressure that the Seagulls are putting on the Knights.
Not sure the Knights have actually had a shot.
Not in this half.
Still just with one shot on goal and one corner kick for the game.
No, it doesn't look like the Seagulls are really going to stop this relentless onslaught.
Nice pass. And it was Colin Flynn able, after Hunter made the play, Colin Flynn was able to get it out momentarily, but Salisbury just keeps it going.
Yeah, the word right now that describes the Seagulls is relentless. It's always in their offensive end, and they are always in front of the goal.
And if this continues for another 30 minutes, there's no telling what the final score might be. You can only hold a team like Salisbury out of the goal for so long.
Well, again, we see a great shot there, and
here comes Carlos Munoz into the game.
Munoz is able to get into the game now.
His first appearance.
Comes in for Patino.
He's another one that such promising offense, Mike, and disrupted again by injuries.
Yeah, it's just been an up and down season for the Knights on both sides of the ball, and most of the downs have been caused by all the injuries.
We only really saw, I think, Tristan Lonergan in that Washington League game. You wonder what kind of difference, what kind of season he would have had he been able to play more than just a handful of games.
And he's battling a groin injury that just isn't healing like they want it to, and he's not able to do a lot of movement without having some pain.
Push, and they do have the whistle. Foul on Salisbury. So a 10-1 advantage in shots on goal now.
Again, if you're Salisbury, you don't mind that little foul there because you're, like you said, they're warming up for the conference tournament. And I don't know if it's true in soccer like it is in basketball, but once you get into tournament time, the referee's whistle doesn't blow as much.
Although they blew it that time, another foul on Salisbury up near midfield.
But some of the calls we've seen or non-calls that we've seen, if they blow the whistle any less, we don't even need referees out there. Hey, we just have one of our athletic trainers step in that's in charge of football. Paul, how you doing? Unfortunate for him, he has to be here after the soccer game for football practice. Of course, he likes the cold, and so he's dressed in his short sleeves and his shorts.
I'm not really sure this is cold, Mike.
It's cold.
Not as cold as it might be on November the 14th.
At 6 o'clock, it's going to be cold. And then when they're done with practice, it's going to be cold.
Well, the football team still has 2 more home games. Kane coming up on the 31st and CNU on the 14th. With another road game sandwiched in between against College of New Jersey.
We just need to be thankful that the game is being played today. They're calling for a lot of rain tomorrow.
A lot of rain tomorrow and into Wednesday, I think, as
Salisbury
finally gets a
three-point blank shots.
Hunter Collins making the play, and that last one bounces over.
Yeah, Hunter was able to make the first save and the third save. The second save by Kenneth Fouchinet played off his body. But again, 3-point blank shots on goal by the Seagulls. And how long can you keep them out of the net?
Brings a smile to Hunter's face and to his teammates. Another corner kick for Salisbury. Another header attempt. That one sails left. So a 10-1 advantage now, Mike, in both shots on goal and corner kicks for the Seagulls.
And that's just way too many for the Knights to be given up and not being able to manufacture their own. Again, just a microcosm of the way the season's gone this year.
You wonder if the Salisbury coaches might think, hey, we should really be up 5, 6, or 7 to nothing.
Well, with that flurry right there, you would have thought one of the balls would have gone in. Looks like we have Will Guyman in the match also. And take some pressure off of the defense, guys. We need to possess the ball and get it down into the offensive end.
We played almost about 20 minutes, Mike, and I've got to believe of those 20 minutes, Salisbury's had it in the SVU defensive zone probably 18 or 19 minutes.
Yeah, I can only think about 4 or 5 times where the ball has actually been across midfield and we've made more than 2 or 3 passes in this second half.
Nice give and go attempt there, but taken away by the Knights, and now they'll try to get moving back to the offensive area with Greg Allen handling it. Knights just can't seem to maintain possession, Mike.
Yeah, they're trying to get some long through balls, but not able to connect, or they're very off target.
Fouchonnet lost it, but it's knocked away by the Knights and out.
Again, just a relentless onslaught by the Seagulls.
Throw in for Southern Virginia here.
Looks like they called a foul on Will Guyman, so we'll have a free kick for the Seagulls.
Looks like maybe they're practicing rolling the tarp in the softball field.
I think they're going to put it on the field because they'll be able to practice on Wednesday.
Yep. And as you mentioned, the rain, I guess, is in the forecast for Tuesday into Wednesday.
Yep. If you don't have a domed field, it's something that you have to practice on doing is rolling out that tarp. Ultimately, what would be nice is to have a turf infield for the softball team.
Seagulls on the attack, blocked away by Hunter Collins. Another shot comes up, blocked away by Fouchonnet. Nice, doing a good job maintaining this 4-goal deficit, making sure he doesn't get any higher right now with a little over 23 minutes to go in the game. Ramirez.
Oh, there should have been a handball there.
Looks like they called a foul on Ramirez.
Oh, my goodness. Robert Flacos is the new goalie for the Seagulls.
He's a junior. Stadell was the goalkeeper in the first half for Salisbury. Much like Saturday, Knights just not able to get too many shots. They were outshot on Saturday, I believe, by York 36-5 overall. Not sure what the latest stat is, just as far as total shots for Salisbury versus the Knights here so far. A hefty advantage, though, obviously, for shots on goal. 10-1 at last report. Knights outshot here 26-3 right now, Mike. Kind of comparable in some respects to the 9-0 loss against York, except obviously better defense.
Yeah, we've
fewer
seen
goals allowed.
We've seen some great saves, not only by the goalkeeper, but by some of the defensemen.
Knights working it into the offensive zone one of the few times they've had it in the offensive end here in the second half. Kelly with it, trying to give and go to Greg Allen, but taken away by Salisbury.
Again, better possession time by the Knights.
Cade Lowe with it, right side to Kelly, a little too far for him. See the football team right there getting ready to practice for their game on the 31st coming up next Saturday against Kane. Had to be a tough one for them, Mike. I know, again, we talked about it earlier about how how much of it helps to be competitive and be in the game, but then again, to be on top by 3, have the football after a turnover inside the opponent's 30, a chance to at least maybe get close enough for a field goal, even though a field goal would only make it a 6-point game. Touchdown makes it 10, and you're probably down to 2 or 3 minutes to go in the game. So great chance for the Knights to put it away, but William Patterson was able to hold on downs and come right back for the go-ahead score and the winning score.
Yeah, that might be a little bit more disheartening than some of the multiple touchdown losses. Oh, great job there. Nice pass through.
To Horman. Or Guyman make that. And just couldn't get it for a shot.
And that may have been one of the best opportunities we've seen the Knights manufactured going down the field.
And a Salisbury player down here with 20:37 to go in the game.
Yeah, things were looking well. The pass that went back to Guyman just wasn't able to handle. Bounced up a little bit too high, not be able to put his shoulder on it to knock it back down. But again, nice job of the Knights trying to manufacture that as going down the field. And we haven't seen them really give up. I mean, they keep playing as hard as Salisbury has. Unfortunately, just not been able to find the success of putting the ball into the back of the net. But we have seen some great saves in this second half.
And at least, Coach Patino has the knowledge that he's got Hunter Collins in case he needs him as a backup goalkeeper to Keenan Carroll.
Oh, and he's done some great work in there. A lot of point-blank shots put right onto him, able to knock it out of goal. Although he hasn't been able to cleanly secure the ball, he's been able to knock it out enough to not allow more than one goal into the second half.
Injured player was Daniel Kim, a freshman midfielder. I think he scored a goal earlier today.
Yes, he scored one in the first half.
Good to see him walk off the field under his own power. The Knights have a little over 20 minutes left to try to get on the scoreboard here. But Salisbury's really had the onslaught going here in the second half, yet they've only got one goal, Mike, in the second half.
Waiting for the referee to place the ball down, let Kim get off the field, out of harm's way, and then we'll continue play. Sounded like the horn blew, so we may have a sub coming in. Number 19, Christian Diaz de Galdo.
So again, recapping the schedule this week, women's volleyball, they are playing at York tonight at 7 o'clock. Then Mary Washington, road game on the 30th, and on the 31st, Wesley. So a very busy week for women's volleyball to wrap up the season. Women's soccer tomorrow night, they play at Frostburg at 6 o'clock, Mike, and then the men wrap up their season Wednesday at 6 p.m. And the football team has 3 more games coming up, 2 home on the 31st and the 14th, and 1 road on November the 7th, as the Knights get a shot on goal that time, but easy stop for the backup goalkeeper, Flacos.
Yeah, the fall sports are coming quickly to an end, and the winter sports of men and women's basketball and wrestling are just getting ready to start taking off in the middle of November.
And cross country. The men and women will be having their conference tournament on Saturday.
Hopefully one of the young ladies, young men will run a fast enough time that they can earn themselves all conference honors.
And maybe about 3 or 4 months we'll be looking at spring sports.
Yeah, but hopefully not as much snow and rain as we had last year.
But according to the almanac, that's a long hope.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have.
It's hard to imagine more weather cancellations than we had earlier this year, though, in the spring. So-called spring, even though it was obviously still winter.
Yeah, this last spring was just one of those years that, kind of like this year with the injuries, we'd like to forget with the weather last year. So many rainouts for baseball and softball.
Again, spring sports, softball, lacrosse, and baseball, but especially obviously baseball and softball, so dependent on getting games in February and March because, let's face it, at the end of April, season's done. You're ready to move into tournament action.
Yeah, and when you don't play on an artificial turf, there's nothing you can do. You're at the mercy of the weather. With this turf field, as long as the snow doesn't get packed on it,
Yep.
They can play in all types of weather. And I think some of the lacrosse players even prefer to play in some weather.
They prefer the cold weather, huh?
Some of them do. They just like it. Makes them feel like they're much tougher. Some of them make them feel that the goalie moves a little bit slower when they're shooting their shots. But
I don't know, if you had 8 or 9 layers of clothing on, it might be okay. I don't think you really move, but
it's a little common foul on the Seagulls.
well, Seagulls obviously made a lot of substitutions here, Mike, and you wonder if the backups really want to go for that 5th goal or if they're now content maybe to lay back a little bit.
Well, I can't see them just trying to play a delay game. I think they're going to try to score again. They don't get into the games as often as they would like, and so they want to prove to the coach that, hey, I belong in the game. The Knights, on the other hand, trying to score that first goal, break the ice, maybe see another goal go in and go into the game on Wednesday feeling a whole lot better about their chances.
Right now, the Knights are playing the delay game a little bit, kind of spacing things out, trying to maybe open up an opportunity, but there's a nice steal by Salisbury. They've got it back now. Good takeaway by Greg Allen. He's shoved from behind. There's a whistle.
Yeah, and I think Nathaniel Hand knew that he fouled him as soon as he did it.
Ramirez with the kick. Trying to go right side. And the header attempt by Guyman is off to the right.
Yeah, that's a little bit far out for a real attempt on goal with the head as far as trying to sneak it past the goalie. I'd like to see him get a little bit closer to the goal to attempt that. But nice pass by Ramirez, and Guyman was able to put it off his head, just not enough momentum to carry it into the net.
Flacco's the goalkeeper, a junior. He's kind of big, 6 foot 200 pounds. The backup goalkeeper to Drew Stadel, who started the game, the senior, 5'10", 170 pounds. Ramirez battles it, knocks it out of bounds. Gabe with the takeaway.
And right now the Knights really just have to be focused on their possessions, their passing, and trying to break the ice, get that first goal.
And you've got some players out there who can really handle it, Mike, and Gabe Ramirez, Munoz, Josh Smith. That ball goes off Salisbury.
Yeah, we just haven't seen any of the consistency and continuity that we saw last year with these players, again, playing out of position, all the injuries, not having the amount of practice time that they had last year because they've had to sit out so much has really caused a lot of havoc.
Good
for the
collision
Knights
there with Fouchonnet and a Seagull.
Again, you have to start wondering what is a foul and what's not a foul.
I think we've been wondering that all game long, haven't we?
Yeah.
Oh, Ramirez mixing it up there a little bit too. Well, it's been a frustrating season, obviously, for the Knights. But, again, as we've talked about, to their credit, they have never stopped trying, and they've battled all the way. And they've been able to, at home, really keep the scores down there. You've only had two blowouts, the men and the women this season, and they both occurred in road games.
So again, now we're seeing the referee starting to call a lot of fouls here in the first half. Hardly any called.
That can be frustrating, I'm sure, for the players and coaches.
Well,
you want consistency.
Yeah, you want consistency. You want to understand what's a foul, what's not a foul, and you play to that level. It has to be very frustrating for both teams because,
especially the backups of Salisbury, they've been watching it. Hey, they
Yeah.
let them play. I'll come out there in the second half and boom, whistle.
they'll be talked about that. Both coaching staffs will go through the film and find all the fouls and say, hey, you can't do this and that, and they'll throw up their arms saying, Coach, in the first half it wasn't like that.
Yeah. And the coaches will say, hey, good point.
No, they'll just say, well, you have to make the adjustment. So, yeah, it's got to be from my viewpoint, a frustrating game to coach. You don't have any timeouts in the first at all. The only time you can make adjustments is when you are able to talk to them at halftime or when you send some subs in. So, and I don't know what the referee's talking to Josh Smith about. That was
strange.
very. I was looking
to say the least.
I went up and talked to Josh 3 or 4 times, and I was trying to see if Josh was saying anything back to him, but I don't think he ever did.
Fouchonnet a long shot, but it sails way left.
Again, very strange game the way it's been officiated, and the best time that you like, in games you like to be the referees to do their job and be unnoticed. So if at the end of the game you can sit there and say, don't have any complaints about the referees because they were so consistent, then that's about the best compliment you can give referees. But when they try to take over a game or try to tighten down at certain spots and they're very inconsistent.
Well, as far as, and here
Makes
come a
you
couple
wonder.
substitutions in for the Knights, as we're going to have Daniel Nelson checking into the game.
And then also Ammon Hardy.
I would imagine that the good majority of referees, umpires, what have you, want to be anonymous at the end of a game. But maybe it's more professional. You'll have people say, well, you get the egos going, and maybe it's more about Major League Baseball umpires who get that complaint that they want to put themselves in the center of the game.
Oh, I knew some basketball referees that wanted to make sure that everybody knew that they were in control.
They really got off on the flamboyant technicals, maybe?
Not the technicals, but just letting everybody know they were in control and they were going to call what they wanted to call. And, they would argue with players or argue with coaches, and as they were arguing, weren't watching their area that they're supposed to be in charge of, and things would go on. And it was just one of those issues where it's
of course,
their
now you
personality.
knew these guys, so you could see them coming.
Oh, hey, you knew when they walked in, oh my goodness, we're going to have a great
we're
game.
We're going to have a great evening tonight.
Or oh my goodness, we're going to have a great evening,
The proverbial week.
Yes. Well, again, thinking back on, we had a long-time referee, a signer who would.
Did you ever
would
actually
come
do
down.
that when you were doing a little pregame thing for your players? You would actually point out, well, now this one's going to be our referee tonight, and he
No.
likes to do this.
No, we never
Okay.
brought the referees into it. The only time that we ever talked about the referees was when we went to some of the Division I games. The referees that we didn't know, some of them I knew from some other areas, and I just tell the ladies, these are really good referees, so let's go out and give it our best. But as a coaching staff, when we used to have some referees that were long-time assigners for us, and we won't say his last name because we don't want to, act like we were playing favorites or anything. But when Ray was was assigning for us, and he would come to games, we knew that we were going to have a very, very well officiated game. There's other times that some referees, we'd go into some other places and we'd look and we'd see some referees, and it's just like, well, it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight.
Knights have less than 10 minutes now to try to get that first goal of the game, and a nice centering pass on the corner kick from the right side, Mike, but just to no avail as far as the Knights getting a good shot off. But they continue to apply the pressure, and that shot is knocked away by the goalkeeper.
Oh, and just very nonchalantly goes after his own rebound, and if the Knights were a little bit more paying attention, maybe one other person could have tried to attack that.
But you really have to be on top of rebounds, though, from the get-go.
Yeah, that's you can't assume that any shot, once it looks like it's going to be stopped, is actually stopped. You have to go in with the assumption that it's a missed shot, it's going to rebound, and I need to be there to clean it up.
Hunter Collins comes out. He's had a good second half. Only allowed the one goal.
Yeah, and after that first few minutes of the second half, the Knights have really done a great job defensively. The Seagulls have had a lot of opportunities to try to score that fifth goal and just haven't been able to.
Much different story than the game coming on Saturday, this past Saturday, when the Knights trailed at halftime by 3 and it allowed 6 second-half goals. They've only allowed 1 second-half goal here today.
Yeah, unfortunately, being down by 4 is just one of those monumental tasks that the Knights haven't been able to step up to this season.
Yeah, right now with a little over 8 minutes to go, Mike, you're probably realistically not thinking comeback, just trying to get on the scoreboard.
Yeah, get on the scoreboard, break the ice. Daniel Nelson there doing a lot of fighting in the middle, trying to keep possession of the ball. Unable to do so.
And this was the final home soccer game for the men. The women had their final game, of course, last Wednesday on the 21st. And both of those teams will be wrapping up the season. The women Tuesday at Frostburg, the men Wednesday at Frostburg.
And both.
No doubleheader for the men and women coming up at Frostburg. They'll play on separate days. Women on Tuesday, men on Wednesday.
And both a really tough task for the Knights coming up, both men and women.
Not sure about Tanya Monson if she'll be able to play in the final game. She's obviously a junior, so she still would have next season. And I know she would have preferred to have different results here for this 2015 season.
Yeah, all the players would have liked to have different results for not only personal reasons, but most of them always talk about the team, and I need to do more for the team, and so they want to put their best foot forward. And
women have won 4 games, and volleyball has won 6 times this year.
And you know, they have 3 games left, including tonight. Again, though, their road is very tough.
Salisbury on the attack here with a 4-goal lead.
Looks like a little bit of offsides again by the Seagulls. Well, this is one of those games that if the Knights could have held the Seagulls a little bit more in check in the first half, maybe only giving up 1 goal. Obviously, none would be the best.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the score sheet, but goals 2 and 3 came relatively speaking close to halftime.
Yeah, one with only 2 minutes before halftime, one with 9 minutes to halftime.
That ball bounces and it hit the post and apparently did not cross the line. That ball bounced right in front of the Salisbury goal, went to the right side, hit the post, rolled sideways, and somehow did not cross the line. Even though some of the Knights thought that ball maybe went across.
And that may just sum up the Knights' season right there.
So the Knights have their second shot on goal and a near miss, but they remain scoreless here, unfortunately.
Yeah, just right on the brink of having a successful season, but something always gets in their way, just like that shot right on the brink of going in. But the goalpost very unkind and bounces it just enough out of the goal so it doesn't cross the line.
You know, the women have had not only their share of injuries, but a lot of close losses. The York 2-1 overtime loss on Saturday. The Wesley 2-1 loss. If those two games go the other way, and maybe they add one more victory, then you're talking 4 conference victories, and that might be enough.
That may have been enough, and who
they
knows?
might actually be where York is right now,
and,
at 4-4.
And you know, that Wesley game I think was the big linchpin there. If they would have pulled that one off, that may have not let the Penn State Harrisburg game happen the way it happened. And so now you're looking at 3 or 4 games won in a row, and that would squarely put them up into position where they'd be in the conference tournament.
And I know you'd love to win the regular season in the Capital, and you'd certainly like to win the conference tournament, but just making the conference tournament in some respects gives you a little bit of success for the season.
Yeah, that's one of the big goals that you set at the beginning of the year. You know, obviously everybody wants to win the national title. I mean, that just goes without saying, but how realistic is that for a lot of teams? So in order to get there to the national tournament, though, you have to set your goals a little bit smaller, and getting to the conference tournament is the first step. You know, we saw the ladies come so close last year. We came within 1 game, and St. Mary's knocked them out of it. We saw the volleyball team actually host a conference tournament game last year.
And based on what happened last year, the near miss for the women, I'm sure they went into this season thinking, well, we're just going to take the next step and make the tournament.
Yeah, that was just what they had foreseen, and that was almost not even a option to not be there. But with all the injuries that have come up, it's just taken that whole goal and that whole plan away from them.
Now you see the football team with some practice going on in the background, and again, we will have football for you coming up on Saturday 1 o'clock against Kane. Next to last home game for football. Their final home game comes up on the 14th of November against Christopher Newport. So women's soccer has 1 game left. Women's volleyball 3 games left. 1 game left for men's soccer, Mike, and just 3 football games total left for the Knights.
Yep, and then we're into the fall sport, where we have women's basketball, men's basketball, and wrestling. And I think one of the first broadcasts for the winter sports is going to be a wrestling duel held here in the arena. We have a foul on Fouchenet, and we got a free kick right outside the box. You know, we'll see if
the referee rolled that back about a foot.
We'll see if Hunter Collins is up to the task again.
Under 2 minutes to go in the game now. And Hunter right there to make the save, knock it away, but couldn't control it. So maybe another corner kick coming up here for Salisbury, and I think that would be their maybe 11th corner kick. They've had 15 shots on goal and just 4 goals now.
Well, we've seen, again, Hunter and Kenneth Fouchenet do a great job of keeping the ball out of the goal after that first one went in. Looks like we'll have a sub here. Looks like Kenneth may be going out. And Keenan Carroll comes in, not in goal.
Wow.
Look at the smile on his face. He is excited about this now.
And a few of his teammates grin a little bit. Well, we saw that briefly, I think, in a game or two with Savannah Uri.
Yeah, Savannah was able to come in that senior game against Marymount. And
that's got to be a foul call, and Flynn takes a tumble. Did they call a foul? No, they did not. Or yes, they did.
But
How would that not have been
no
a foul?
card. No card though, and you'd have to kind of sit there and think about it. He's had some cards for some things that people have said,
Yeah.
but not a blatant foul like that.
Knights had one chance at a goal, really good chance, and the ball rolled within inches of going across the line, but did not. On the plus side, though, they've held Salisbury in check here, Mike, with just one goal out in the second half.
And this looks like it might be the last gasp for the Knights as far as putting the ball into the net. Have a throw in on the side here. Bring everybody forward.
Nice attempt at a pass, but knocked away by Salisbury, and that will probably do it. Clock's going to run out, and Salisbury is going to claim the victory to go to 10-3-3 on the season, 5-0-3 in the Capital Conference, Mike, with a 4-0 shutout. The Knights dropped to 1-16 on the season, 0-8 in the conference, with just the one game left on the schedule now at Frostburg on Wednesday.
Yeah, and that one last chance to get the conference win. They don't want to be the team that sets the bar of not being able to win a conference game. I know we're early in our infancy of being in NCAA and being in the Capital Athletic Conference, but getting that first conference win, that's going to be the most important thing on their minds right now.
So good luck to the women Tuesday at Frostburg, and Mike, Wednesday, the men at Frostburg, and in each case they'll be facing a very quality opponent.
Yeah, playing against Frostburg for both sides is not going to be an easy task. Both of them right now are squarely in the conference tournament for soccer. The Knights could go in though and throw a monkey wrench in some of those plans of being one of the top seeds.
So that's going to wrap things up here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. Final home game of this 2015 men's soccer season for the Knights, and against Salisbury, able to claim the 4-0 victory. For Mike Harmon and all the crew, I'm Jim Bresnahan. Thanks again for joining us, everyone.